Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Today I want to talk about a philosophy that has been deeply misunderstood: Stoicism. When people hear the word Stoic, they often think of someone emotionless, indifferent, or resigned to fate. But true Stoicism is anything but passive. It is a philosophy of strength, resilience, and action. What is within our control and what is not. This principle is not just about acceptance, it is about intelligent action. By focusing our energy only on the things we can influence, we become more effective, resilient, and purposeful in life. Instead of wasting time and effort on external circumstances beyond our reach, a Stoic hones their attention on their own thoughts, choices and actions, elements that are fully within their control. This approach does not lead to passivity, but rather to a more deliberate and impactful way of living. At first glance, some might misinterpret this idea as an excuse for inaction. If so much in life is beyond our control, other people's behavior, unexpected misfortunes, or even global events, should we simply accept things as they are and do nothing? That is far from what Stoicism teaches. The real lesson is to focus on where we can make a difference, and once that distinction is clear, to take action with full commitment. This philosophy is not about resignation, it is about efficiency. It helps us eliminate wasted effort and direct our attention toward meaningful pursuits. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pours, and the skies darken. No matter how much you wish for the storm to stop, it won't. You could scream at the clouds, demand that the rain cease, or curse the wind for making your journey more difficult, but none of that would change the weather. A Stoic, instead of lamenting the storm, focuses on what can be done. Can they take shelter? Can they adjust their route? Can they wear the right gear to stay warm and dry? The situation may be difficult, but action is always possible. The key is recognizing what is within your power and directing your energy toward that. This principle applies to every aspect of life. In our relationships, we cannot control how others feel about us, but we can control how we treat them. If someone is rude or dismissive, we cannot force them to change their behavior, but we can choose how we respond. We can choose patience instead of anger, understanding instead of resentment. By doing so, we not only maintain our own peace of mind, but we also increase the chances of influencing the situation in a positive way. The person may not change, but our response can shape the outcome in ways that complaining or reacting emotionally never could. In our careers, there are countless variables beyond our control: economic downturns, corporate decisions, workplace politics. Many people spend hours worrying about these uncertainties, draining their energy on things they cannot change. A Stoic, however, asks, what can I do? Perhaps they can sharpen their skills, seek new opportunities, or adapt to changes in the industry. By shifting focus from external worries to personal development and proactive choices, they remain adaptable and prepared for whatever comes. Even in personal hardships, this mindset proves invaluable. Suppose someone faces a serious illness. They cannot change the diagnosis, but they can control their attitude, their lifestyle choices, and how they approach treatment. They can educate themselves, seek the best care available, and adopt a mindset that maximizes their well-being. This does not mean ignoring reality, it means facing it with clarity and determination. It means refusing to become paralyzed by fear or despair. This approach also extends to global events. We live in a world where news constantly bombards us with crises, wars, political turmoil, natural disasters. It is easy to feel overwhelmed, to believe that as individuals, we are powerless to make a difference. But Stoicism reminds us that even in the face of vast, uncontrollable events, we always have choices. We can educate ourselves, support causes that align with our values, and contribute in small but meaningful ways. While we may not single-handedly change the world, our actions, no matter how small, are still within our control and still matter. The discipline of focusing only on what we can control is not always easy. It requires practice, self-awareness, and a conscious effort to shift our mindset. But once mastered, it becomes a source of great strength. It allows us to navigate life with a sense of purpose, rather than being at the mercy of external forces. It teaches us to remain steady in the face of adversity, to act with wisdom rather than impulse, and to approach every situation with a clear and effective strategy. Ultimately, the Stoic does not seek to control the world, nor do they waste energy wishing it were different. Instead, they control themselves, and in doing so they gain the greatest power of all, the ability to act with clarity, integrity, and purpose. Virtue is not merely an abstract concept or a set of ideals to admire. It is something that must be actively practiced. A truly virtuous person does not simply contemplate morality, justice, or wisdom. They embody these qualities through their actions. Stoicism teaches that living a good life is not about what we say or believe in theory, but about what we do in reality. Virtue is not a passive state of mind, it is a disciplined way of life, a continuous effort to align our actions with our principles. Many people mistake virtue for something that exists only in thought. They admire wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance as noble qualities, but fail to apply them in daily life. They may praise honesty while telling small lies to avoid discomfort. They may believe in fairness but hesitate to stand up for someone being wronged. They may understand the importance of discipline yet give in to distractions and temptations. In such cases, virtue remains an intellectual exercise rather than a guiding force in one's life. The Stoic, however, understands that virtue is meaningful only when it is put into practice. It is not enough to know what is right, one must live it. Wisdom, for instance, is not simply about acquiring knowledge. A person may read countless books, engage in deep philosophical discussions, and analyze ethical dilemmas, but if they fail to apply that wisdom in their decisions, it remains useless. True wisdom is demonstrated in how we navigate challenges, how we react to difficulties, and how we make choices that align with reason rather than impulse. It is easy to appear wise in conversation, but it is far more difficult to act wisely in moments of stress, conflict, or uncertainty. A Stoic recognizes that wisdom must be lived. It is found in measured responses, in thoughtful decision-making, and in the ability to remain composed when faced with adversity. Courage is another virtue that is meaningless without action. Many admire the idea of bravery, but when confronted with fear, they hesitate. They know they should speak up when they witness injustice, yet they remain silent. They understand that taking risks is necessary for growth, yet they avoid discomfort. Stoicism teaches that courage is not about the absence of fear, it is about acting despite fear. A Stoic does not merely think about being brave, they take action in the face of difficulty, whether that means defending their values, pursuing their goals despite obstacles, or standing firm when others waver. Without action, courage is just a word. Justice, too, is a virtue that must be actively demonstrated. It is easy to discuss fairness and ethics, to support noble causes in theory, or to express outrage at injustice from a distance. But real justice requires effort. It requires stepping in when we see wrongdoing, making choices that reflect integrity, and treating others with fairness even when it is inconvenient. A Stoic does not simply believe in justice, they practice it by being fair in their dealings, by ensuring that their actions contribute to the well-being of others, and by refusing to compromise their principles for personal gain. Temperance, or self-discipline, is another virtue that exists only through action. Many people recognize the importance of moderation, yet they struggle with impulse control. They understand that overindulgence leads to negative consequences, yet they give in to short-term pleasures. They set goals but fail to follow through because they lack consistency. A Stoic understands that discipline is not about suppression but about mastery. It is about making deliberate choices rather than being ruled by desires. A person who practices temperance does not simply talk about balance. They demonstrate it by exercising control over their habits, their emotions, and their reactions to the world around them. Living virtuously requires constant effort. It is not something we achieve once and maintain effortlessly. It is a daily practice. Each moment presents an opportunity to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, or to fall short of those ideals. The Stoic understands that mistakes will happen, but what matters is the commitment to continuous improvement. Virtue is built through repetition, through the conscious decision to choose what is right over what is easy, to act with integrity rather than convenience, and to embody one's values in every action. There is no virtue without action. It is not enough to admire ethical principles from a distance, they must be lived. A Stoic does not concern themselves with appearing virtuous to others, they focus on being virtuous in reality. Every choice, every response, and every habit is an expression of character. A person's true nature is revealed, not by what they claim to believe, but by how they behave when it matters most. Virtue, in the end, is not something we possess, it is something we do. Adversity is not something to be avoided or feared, it is a necessary part of growth and self-improvement. Challenges, hardships, and setbacks are inevitable in life, but the way we respond to them defines who we are. Stoicism teaches that adversity is not merely an obstacle but a training ground, a forge in which character is shaped and refined. It is through difficulties that we learn resilience, discipline, patience, and strength. Without struggle, there is no progress. Just as a blacksmith tempers steel through fire, adversity tempers the mind and soul, making us more capable, wiser, and more prepared for the uncertainties of life. When confronted with hardship, many people see it as an unfair burden, something that has come to disrupt their comfort and stability. They focus on why things have gone wrong, blaming circumstances, other people, or even fate itself. This mindset only leads to frustration and helplessness. A Stoic, however, views adversity differently. They see it as a test, an opportunity to prove their strength and apply their principles in real life. It is easy to talk about patience, discipline, and wisdom when everything is going well, but true growth comes when those virtues are tested under pressure. Only by facing hardship can we truly embody these ideals. Physical training offers a clear parallel. No one becomes strong by avoiding effort or discomfort. A person who lifts weights, runs long distances, or practices a demanding sport does so knowing that pain and struggle are part of the process. Muscles grow by being pushed to their limits. Endurance is built by facing exhaustion, and skills are honed through repetition and failure. The same principle applies to the mind and character. Without adversity, there is no reason to develop resilience. Without setbacks, there is no opportunity to cultivate patience. Without obstacles, there is no need for innovation, strategy, or problem solving. The Stoic understands that just as the body must be challenged to grow, the mind must be tested to develop strength. Adversity teaches us resilience, the ability to endure hardship without breaking. Life is unpredictable, and misfortune can come at any moment. A Stoic prepares for this not by avoiding difficulties, but by learning how to handle them with grace and composure. Each hardship becomes a lesson, a way to strengthen the mind against future struggles. A person who has never faced setbacks is unprepared for the realities of life. But someone who has repeatedly endured difficulties and emerged stronger is ready for whatever comes next. They do not panic in the face of crisis because they have trained themselves to remain steady, to adapt, and to act with clarity. Hardship also forces us to confront our weaknesses. When everything is going smoothly, it is easy to overlook flaws, to believe that we are stronger or more disciplined than we truly are. But when challenges arise, our true nature is revealed. A person may think themselves patient, but only when tested by frustration or delay do they see whether that patience is real. A person may believe they are courageous, but only in moments of fear do they discover whether they truly have the strength to act. Adversity strips away illusions and reveals who we really are. This is not something to fear, it is an opportunity. By recognizing our weaknesses, we gain the chance to improve them, to turn shortcomings into strengths. Difficulties also cultivate perspective. When life is easy, it is natural to take things for granted. Comfort can breed complacency, and people often do not appreciate what they have until it is taken away. Adversity serves as a reminder of what truly matters. It forces us to reassess our priorities, to separate what is essential from what is trivial. A person who has faced loss understands the value of time and relationships more deeply. A person who has struggled with failure appreciates success more profoundly. Hardship teaches gratitude, resilience, and a sense of purpose that comfort alone never could. Moreover, adversity is the birthplace of innovation and creativity. Many of history's greatest achievements arose not from ease, but from necessity. When faced with obstacles, people are forced to think differently, to develop new strategies, and to find ways to overcome difficulties. Progress, whether personal or societal, is often driven by hardship. A Stoic does not see obstacles as reasons to give up, but as challenges to overcome, as opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. Problems become puzzles to solve rather than reasons for despair. The true measure of a person is not how they behave when things are easy, but how they respond when faced with adversity. The Stoic understands that every challenge is a chance to improve, every setback a lesson, and every hardship a stepping stone to greater strength. Life will always present difficulties, but it is through those difficulties that we refine ourselves, learning to act with wisdom, courage, and resilience. Instead of resisting adversity, we must embrace it, recognizing it as the training ground that shapes us into the best versions of ourselves. Emotional mastery is one of the most crucial skills a person can develop, and it serves as the foundation for effective action in life. Many people assume that controlling emotions means suppressing them, but true emotional mastery is not about denial or avoidance. Instead, it is about understanding emotions, managing them intelligently, and ensuring they do not dictate decisions in irrational or destructive ways. Emotions are powerful, and when left unchecked, they can cloud judgment, lead to impulsive actions, and create unnecessary suffering. However, when properly channeled, emotions can serve as valuable signals, guiding a person toward better choices and a more balanced approach to life. Stoicism teaches that external events do not inherently disturb people, rather, it is their interpretation of these events that causes distress. When emotions are allowed to take control unchecked, they distort perception and influence actions in ways that are often counterproductive. Fear can prevent a person from taking necessary risks. Anger can lead to rash decisions that create more harm than good, and anxiety can paralyze someone into inaction. But when a person learns to master these emotions, they can respond to challenges with clarity, wisdom, and purpose. Emotional mastery is not about becoming indifferent or robotic. It is about ensuring that emotions serve their intended purpose, rather than dominate one's actions. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions that influence human behavior, and without control, it can lead to hesitation, avoidance, and missed opportunities. Fear of failure prevents people from taking action toward their goals. Fear of rejection stops them from forming meaningful relationships, and fear of uncertainty keeps them trapped in situations that do not serve them. However, fear itself is not the problem. It is the reaction to fear that determines whether it is a destructive or constructive force. A person who masters their emotions acknowledges fear but does not allow it to dictate their choices. Instead of seeing fear as a signal to retreat, they use it as motivation to prepare, to grow, and to push beyond limitations. Anger is another emotion that, if not controlled, can lead to impulsive and harmful actions. When a person allows anger to take over, they often say or do things they later regret. They may lash out in frustration, destroy relationships, or make decisions fueled by temporary emotions rather than long-term wisdom. But anger itself is not necessarily negative. It can serve as an indicator that something is wrong or unjust. A person with emotional mastery does not suppress anger but channels it constructively. Instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, they pause, reflect, and determine the most effective response. By maintaining control, they turn anger into a force for positive change rather than destruction. Anxiety and worry are emotions that consume mental energy, often without producing any real benefit. Many people spend their time overthinking the future, worrying about things that may never happen, and creating stress over situations they cannot control. This constant state of mental distress diminishes productivity and weakens decision-making abilities. Emotional mastery allows a person to recognize when worry is unproductive and redirect their focus toward action. Instead of wasting time stressing over uncertainties, they concentrate on what they can do in the present moment. This shift from anxious rumination to purposeful action leads to better outcomes and a greater sense of peace. Even positive emotions, if not managed well, can lead to poor decisions. Excitement and enthusiasm are valuable, but when unchecked, they can cause reckless behavior. People often make impulsive choices when they are overly optimistic, failing to see potential risks or consequences. A person with emotional mastery does not suppress joy but ensures that enthusiasm is balanced with wisdom and careful consideration. They celebrate victories but remain grounded, never allowing momentary highs to cloud long-term judgment. Effective action comes from a state of emotional stability. When emotions are erratic, decision-making becomes inconsistent. People who are controlled by their emotions react rather than respond, often regretting their choices later. But when emotions are managed, actions become deliberate, thoughtful, and purposeful. This ability to remain steady under pressure is what separates those who thrive in difficult situations from those who crumble. Leaders, athletes, and individuals who excel in high-stakes environments all share this trait and ability to control their emotions and act with clarity, even in moments of stress. Developing emotional mastery requires self-awareness and discipline. It begins with recognizing emotional triggers and understanding how they affect thoughts and behavior. Instead of reacting automatically, a person must learn to pause and assess the situation objectively. This moment of reflection creates space between emotion and action, allowing for a more rational and effective response. Techniques such as deep breathing, mindfulness, and cognitive reframing help cultivate this ability, making it easier to manage emotions in real time. A person who masters their emotions gains control over their life. They are not easily provoked, nor are they swayed by fleeting feelings. They remain calm in chaos, think clearly in difficult situations, and act with purpose rather than impulse. Their ability to regulate emotions gives them a significant advantage in all areas of life, from personal relationships to professional success. Emotional mastery is not about eliminating feelings, but about ensuring that emotions serve as guides rather than obstacles. By achieving this balance, a person becomes more effective, resilient, and capable of handling any challenge that comes their way. Taking responsibility for one's life is one of the most powerful choices a person can make. In contrast, resignation, the act of passively accepting circumstances without attempting to change them, leads to stagnation and a lack of fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can always control our responses. This distinction is critical because it determines whether a person will take an active role in shaping their life or simply surrender to external circumstances. Responsibility is about recognizing one's agency, making deliberate choices, and acting with purpose, while resignation is the abandonment of effort, the surrender to fate without resistance. Many people fall into resignation because it is easier than taking responsibility. When life becomes difficult, when things do not go as planned, or when setbacks occur, it is tempting to believe that nothing can be done. This mindset leads people to blame external forces, bad luck, unfair treatment, or uncontrollable circumstances, while avoiding the discomfort of action. However, resignation is a trap. It creates a cycle of passivity, reinforcing the idea that one has no power over their own life. The more a person resigns themselves to their situation, the more powerless they feel, and the less likely they are to take action in the future. Taking responsibility, on the other hand, requires courage and discipline. It means acknowledging that while external events may be beyond control, our reactions, decisions, and efforts are always within our power. Responsibility is not about blaming oneself for every misfortune. Rather, it is about recognizing that even in difficult situations, there are always choices to be made. A person who takes responsibility does not dwell on what is unfair or unfortunate. Instead, they ask, "What can I do?" This shift in perspective turns obstacles into opportunities for action. One of the key differences between responsibility and resignation is the mindset with which challenges are approached. A person who has resigned themselves to their fate will see obstacles as reasons to give up. They may say, "There is nothing I can do," or "Things will never change." This kind of thinking leads to inaction, frustration, and a sense of helplessness. A responsible person, however, sees the same obstacles and asks. They do not waste energy complaining about what they cannot change. Instead, they focus on what they can influence. Even in the most difficult situations, there is always something that can be done, whether it is adjusting expectations, developing new skills, or finding creative solutions. This principle applies to all areas of life. In relationships, a person who resigns themselves to conflict or dissatisfaction will simply accept things as they are, believing that they have no power to improve the situation. They may blame their partner's circumstances or bad luck in love, but they will not take meaningful steps to change their behavior or address the root issues. A responsible person, on the other hand, will take ownership of their role in the relationship. They will communicate, make adjustments, and work toward a solution rather than passively accepting unhappiness. In the workplace, resignation manifests as frustration without action. A person who feels stuck in an unfulfilling job but does nothing to improve their skills seek new opportunities, or create change within their current role has chosen resignation over responsibility. A responsible individual, however, understands that while they may not control their employer, the economy or job market conditions, they do control their own professional growth. They take initiative, learn new skills, and explore ways to create better opportunities for themselves. Even in times of hardship, responsibility remains a choice. When faced with illness, financial trouble, or personal loss, it is easy to fall into a passive mindset, waiting for circumstances to improve on their own. But true resilience comes from recognizing that even in suffering there is room for action. A person may not be able to change their diagnosis, but they can control their approach to treatment, their attitude, and their ability to seek support. They may not be able to undo financial loss, but they can control how they respond, learn from their mistakes, and build a new path forward. Responsibility does not mean everything will be easy, but it ensures that a person is actively working towards solutions rather than waiting for things to change on their own. Resignation often disguises itself as acceptance, but there is a critical difference between the two. Acceptance means recognizing reality as it is, without illusion or resistance, but still making the best possible choices within those circumstances. Resignation, on the other hand, means giving up. A responsible person understands that they must accept what they cannot change, but they also recognize that they are always capable of taking action in some way. This mindset allows them to remain strong in the face of adversity, knowing that they are never truly powerless. Ultimately, responsibility is a form of empowerment. It shifts the focus away from what is outside of one's control and toward what can be influenced. It replaces complaints with action, despair with determination, and passivity with purpose. While resignation leads to frustration and stagnation, responsibility leads to growth and progress. By choosing responsibility over resignation, a person takes control of their life, shaping their own path rather than being carried along by external forces. No matter the circumstances, there is always a choice to be made, and those who take responsibility for their lives will always be the ones who move forward. True Stoicism is not about intellectualizing virtue or merely discussing wisdom. It is about living according to principles every single day. It is easy to speak about self-discipline, resilience, and rationality, but far more difficult to embody these qualities in real-life situations. Many admire the ideals of Stoicism, reading philosophy, quoting great thinkers, and debating ethical principles. However, the true Stoic does not stop at words. They take action. They apply what they have learned to their daily lives. They walk the path rather than simply talking about it. It is common to find people who speak eloquently about self-control, but lose their temper at the slightest provocation. Others praise perseverance but give up when faced with difficulty. Some discuss the importance of resilience but crumble under stress. This gap between words and actions is where many fail. Stoicism demands more than knowledge, it demands practice. A person can read about controlling their emotions, but until they remain calm in the face of insult or misfortune, they have not truly mastered themselves. They can discuss the virtue of patience, but if they lose composure in traffic or during minor inconveniences, their philosophy is only theoretical. The Stoic understands that philosophy is a discipline, not just an idea. It is something to be lived, tested, and refined in daily life. The true test of one's philosophy comes in difficult moments. When everything is going well, it is easy to talk about resilience. But when adversity strikes, when there is loss, failure, or hardship, that is when Stoicism must be put into practice. A Stoic does not claim to be resilient, they demonstrate resilience. They do not boast of their self-control, they prove it by maintaining composure under pressure. They do not merely praise wisdom, they seek to make wise choices in every decision they face. This commitment to action separates those who admire Stoicism from those who truly embody it. Living according to Stoic principles requires constant self-examination. It is not enough to declare oneself virtuous. One must measure their actions against the ideals they claim to uphold. Are they practicing patience when faced with delays? Are they demonstrating courage when encountering fear? Are they applying rational thinking instead of reacting emotionally? The Stoic does not deceive themselves into believing that knowing is the same as doing. They understand that self-improvement is a lifelong journey, and they strive to close the gap between their ideals and their behavior. One of the key aspects of walking the Stoic path is consistency. Many people act virtuously when it is convenient, but abandon their principles when it becomes difficult. A person may be disciplined with their habits for a few days but let them slip when motivation fades. They may practice gratitude when things go well but complain when life becomes tough. The true Stoic understands that virtue is not situational, it is a commitment that must be upheld in all circumstances. Integrity is not occasional, it is a way of life. Another important element of embodying Stoicism is taking responsibility. Many talk about the importance of ownership over one's life, but a true Stoic actively practices it. They do not blame others for their problems. They do not wait for circumstances to improve before taking action. They take charge of their own responses, their own growth, and their own mindset. They accept that while external events are outside their control, their reactions are entirely their responsibility. They do not make excuses or engage in self-pity. Instead, they focus on what they can do, what they can change, and how they can improve. Walking the Stoic path also requires humility. It is easy to talk about wisdom and virtue in a way that seeks admiration, but the true Stoic does not seek recognition. They are not interested in appearing wise, they are focused on becoming wise. They do not boast about their resilience, they quietly endure hardships with dignity. They do not lecture others about discipline, they show discipline in their own lives. Their actions speak louder than their words. A person who truly follows Stoic principles does not need to announce it because their behavior naturally reflects their philosophy. The Stoic also understands that walking the path is a continuous process. There is no final destination, no moment where one has completed Stoicism. Each day presents new challenges, new opportunities to practice self-control, patience, and wisdom. There will be failures along the way, moments of anger, moments of weakness, moments of irrationality. But rather than being discouraged, the Stoic sees these as lessons. They reflect, adjust, and strive to do better next time. They do not dwell on past mistakes, but they learn from them. They do not seek perfection, but they seek progress. Ultimately, Stoicism is not about sounding wise, it is about living wisely. It is not about discussing virtue, it is about practicing virtue. It is not about appearing disciplined, it is about being disciplined. Anyone can talk about Stoic principles, but the true Stoic embodies them, day in and day out. They do not need to prove their philosophy with words because their actions make it clear. They walk the path, no matter how difficult, knowing that wisdom, strength, and character built through action, not discussion. The true measure of a Stoic is not found in their words but in their actions. Philosophy is not meant to be a decoration for conversation. It is a guide for life. Every challenge, every hardship, and every moment of temptation is an opportunity to prove one's commitment to virtue. The Stoic does not seek praise or recognition, they simply live by their principles, consistently and without compromise. In the end, it is not what we say about discipline, resilience, and wisdom that defines us, but how we embody these values when no one is watching. To walk the Stoic path is to embrace each day as a test of character, to act with integrity in all situations, and to continually strive for self-mastery. The world does not need more talkers, it needs doers. So let us not just speak of virtue, let us live it.